Hey everyone, Glenn Sanford here, founder of eXp Realty, CEO eXp World Holdings, and today I'm really excited to speak with Cynthia McKenna of the McKenna team in Long Island, New York, and she's a three-time icon with eXp. And Cynthia, hey, welcome to our expansion podcast.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. This is really exciting. Looking forward to talking to you.
Well, first and foremost, you've been in real estate for a few years now. Maybe you could just tell us how'd you get in real estate and what's that journey been look like?
Well, it's a long journey. It's nice that you said a few years. It's actually 23 years. But I got into real estate when my children were very young, and let me back up. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. I have 5 children, and so I was a stay-at-home mom. And when my youngest one, went to full-time kindergarten, I needed something to do. And when I said to my husband, what should I do? He just said, well, what are you going to do? If the kids are sick, you need to be home or whatever. So he was a financial planner. And I said, well, why don't I do what you do? And he literally laughed at me and said, you, a financial planner? And so I proceeded to get those licenses. And as I was doing financial planning with a lot of seniors, they were selling their houses, they were buying condos, they were doing different things, and I would refer it out to real estate agents that I knew in town or whatever, and they would mess it up. And I'm like, this isn't rocket science. How can you mess this up? So I went to my employer and I got permission to get my real estate license. I sold my first house and never looked back. I quit financial planning and just moved forward from there. But real estate really afforded me the opportunity to grow my business at my own rate and do what I still needed to do with my family. So
financial planning, and obviously it sounds like it was a great lead generator, or at least a really good springboard into getting into real estate. Were you getting was your husband referring you deals after you got your license, or how were you lead generating?
So it's really funny. For a while, I did have both licenses, and it was just that you couldn't concentrate. You just were wearing too many hats, and you couldn't concentrate on what you needed to do. And I really liked the real estate. So when I decided to do real estate, he actually followed me and became a mortgage person for a while. So he left his financial planning and came into the mortgage side of it, and we were working together doing it that way. And then it was just, I was in PTA and all of those different various things. So I got referrals from that. And, 20 years ago, it was more city focused or town focused, really locally based. And when I started, there were 2 ladies that had been in the business for like 20 years. And I'm like, how am I ever going to compete with them? So I decided not to. And I didn't localize myself. I did Long Island. I did, Suffolk County where I live. And that was a very different thing. And I also went into buyer brokerage, which was unheard of at that point, so I did a lot of buyer brokerage stuff because it didn't make sense to me that if I have a buyer and I'm walking into a seller, that I'm representing that seller just because I'm walking into their listing. It didn't make any sense to me. So I did a lot of out of the box stuff, and then 08, 09 came the crash, and that was interesting. But because I wasn't local, and because I did things like I looked on Active Rain and I tried to figure out what was going on across the country so that I could stay relevant. And I decided that I knew that it was going to crash. I didn't know what that meant, but I happened to have a closing that when I went to the closing, there was no money. There was no money to pay me. And I called my broker and I said, what there's no money. I worked. It was my listing. I sold it, and they're telling me that they did a short sale and that they took my money and they paid it to close the sale, and too bad, sue the owner, and there's nothing to get. And I didn't know what a short sale was. I never even heard of a short sale. So my broker he was like, just forget about it, move on, do the next thing. And I'm like, but that's not fair. So I went on to Active Rain. I looked up short sales. I looked up foreclosures. I taught myself how to do it. And I went that way, and everybody else was falling out, and I stayed in. So.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned Active Rain a couple times. Were you a big blogger on Active Rain, or are you still using it even?
Sometimes I go in there just to see what's going on, but I don't use it very often. I was trying to do a lot of blogging at that point, just because that was the new thing to do as well. I should get back to it, but time, everything takes time. So.
Well, I think now, I think Active Rain had its day. I mean, it was a really great platform. I knew Jonathan Washburn, who founded it at one point, and spent some time kind of understanding. And I blogged on it a fair bit as well. Ironically, from 2008 to 2009, I was blogging about SEO because I had built a real estate practice that was all SEO related, and then to make ends meet from 2008 to 2009, we sold SEO services to other real estate professionals.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So okay. that was the best platform for lead gen for me at the time for
Right.
selling those services.
Oh, that's interesting. So you were SEO and I was short sale foreclosure, because I didn't even know. Who knew? I didn't even know what that was. So, yeah. And then
it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, fast forward. So before that, I had owned my own brokerage. I had sold it to the brokerage where I was. And then I decided to open my own brokerage again, a franchise, a big red one. A big red one. I think you know which one that is. And at the end of the franchise agreement, I closed it. I just closed it, and I came here. And I couldn't be more happy.
So what's the difference between being a franchise owner, and in your opinion, and building your business at EXP? Obviously, when you buy a franchise, there's especially when you've got one with a really great value prop that KW, I think, is the one you're referring to, but and obviously they've got they've built a really great model for franchise owners with their profit share and ALC and all the other things that they have in there. How did that contrast to then moving over to EXP?
I think that the biggest thing, because I was the OP, the operating principal, I was the owner of the franchise. I have to say my time at KW was where I needed to be to get to here, because I don't think that I don't think that if I had even seen EXP back when I opened my franchise, I don't think that I would have had the wherewithal to figure it out that I should be here. I think that I needed my time at KW because, again, it was all traditional brokerages here, all, 50-50, 60-40 splits, whatever they were. And when KW came and everybody had that same split, and then you had the opportunity to cap, that was something that was very different, and nobody on Long Island, and everybody told me I was going to fail, and I didn't. I had 140 agents when I closed it, and it's still around, and, the other offices, and they're doing very well. And KW is a name now, when it was not before. I needed that time as a franchise owner, I think, to learn a little bit more about business, about running a larger scale business, but I also learned that I felt like a one-man band running around doing everything, and you could never go anywhere or do anything. And, and you had the corporate where you had to answer to levels and things that you needed to do over there, and then you had your business over here where you're trying to do everything over there, and then trying to combine everything was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. So when I came to EXP, I don't have to worry about the corporate stuff because you guys have that all handled, but I still get to run my business and grow it as I want to. So I'm kind of like a mini corporation within your corporation, a mini brokerage within your huge brokerage, and I can do anything that I want with that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Awesome. And you also run a real estate team.
Yes, I do.
And then you've also attracted some agents to EXP. How does your team operate? What's your primary lead? Like, how do you generate business? How do you pass that on to your agents?
A lot of our business is referral business. I think I run my team a little differently. One thing that I learned, especially after coming here, was with KW, I always tried to run my business, my team, like it was in the Red Book, because I think the Red Book is a really great book. It's a really good way to do it. But I always personally found that I was having difficulty because I couldn't be a team member, like, I'm sorry. I can be on teams, but I mean, like, I couldn't be a team member forever because that's just not who I am. So I have a real disconnect in my head of having people that'll stay on my team, right? I just have that disconnect there. So I always felt like I was missing a piece or missing something. And what I realized when I came over was that watching your business, watching EXP grow, watching all of the different people that are so successful in the business, and some of them are very large teams making very many transactions. There are some that are smaller doing it, but they all do it differently. And going into the world or going into the functions and speaking to them and how they're doing their business, I realized that there is no really one way that's right. It's right. What is right for you. So for me, my team, everybody does whatever they want to do, meaning they can be a buyer's agent, they can be a listing agent. I don't put them, you don't have to start as a buyer's agent and work your way up to a listing agent. Our splits are very different. I have a cap on my team, just as you have, with us at EXP, there's a cap on my team, just because you have it, so why shouldn't I have it? So that was kind of my thinking. If you as a larger entity can institute a cap for us, and that's a lot of the reasons why people come here, is because there is a cap on what we have to pay you, right? That beats the traditional brokerage system. Then why would I make my team continue to pay me? Right. So there is a production cap on my team as well.
Awesome. So you've kind of built your own unique model that matches up with you as the business owner leader, as to what you feel is fair and right, and also I think to some extent what you would enjoy if you were on the team.
Correct. Exactly. Because I understand, my team, if they're looking and they cap because they capped with me, and I cap because I capped with you, and why would I wouldn't personally want to keep paying, why would I do that? I'd get off the team. So we do have a cap, so it's just, I think it's win-win-win. And a lot of people, they're doing, my daughter Shaughnessy, she is now an EXP or whatever for the Instagram thing for EXP Con. She just got the honor of she's going to do that. And so she does a lot of Instagram and Facebook and all of that. And we do a lot of sphere, and I call it fear farming. Sphere farming is fear farming because nobody ever wants to call their sphere. They have fear to do it, right? So I just, every time they say they're dry, I'm like, did you do your fear farming? Because if you didn't do your fear farming, then you have nothing. And they call around and get a few deals out of it, and they're like, oh yeah, that works. Yeah, it does work. So
I love that fear. Of course, in fear, as also an acronym, false education appearing real.
Exactly.
So they're finding out that once they confront the fear, or as Tom Hopkins says, do what you fear most and you control the fear. So
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
One thing I want listeners to pick up on is, and I think it's a really unique piece that I saw, is that when you build a business model, do ask yourself, would you work for that business model if it was presented to you? And I think that's a really important element to, obviously that was the hat I put on when we built EXP was, would I be an agent at EXP if EXP existed? And absolutely. I would have loved to have avoided the brain damage of actually building the company and just being at the company. And
but it took your brain to do that.
Yeah.
We needed your brain to do that. My brain didn't do it. Your brain did it. So.
Yeah, and I think the piece is that everybody in whatever local market they're in has a business that, if it isn't working, think about when you do go to retool it, think about it from the perspective of, would I be excited to be in this, on this team, in this structure? And if you can say yes, it's going to be easier to attract people. It's going to be easier to explain the value proposition. It's just going to be more successful.
Right. Exactly.
So what do you mentioned a lot of your team members do their own lead gen, and do you provide any leads? Do you do lead generation for them?
I do, but I don't do it well. I'm going to be totally 100% honest with you. I don't do it overly well. I'm working on that. I do provide leads, with my listings or whatever. They do open houses. They can have all the buyers, those kinds of things. I have taught them how to use outside, not paid, outside referral things that they could use in order to generate some listings and things. And, again, a lot of it is referral. A lot of our business is referral.
Well, 23 years, I would think you want to have a little bit of referral business in there somewhere, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I just have to get better on the lead gen part of it, and I'm working on that. I have somebody helping me with that. So
now, what CRM do you use, or what's your favorite CRM?
I just about 8 weeks ago turned into Chime. So I was trying to use our KV Core, and nothing bad about it. I just found it a little overwhelming, almost. So I just I still have it. I'm actually trying to run it consecutively because I want to kind of compare the two on the lead generation part of it. And I have to say, on KV Core, I did use Make It Rain, and it does work. It does work. So if anybody ever wants to try that, it does work. But I'm kind of trying to run them consecutively. Chime is just a little more intuitive. That's all.
Okay, awesome. Well, you'll be glad to hear, and I don't. And since this is a podcast, and it probably won't come out till after the announcement. But we just put together a deal with Chime,
that's exciting.
Where I think agents will be able to get Chime for $25 a month. So we've got
that's incredible.
So there's probably a little bit of savings you'll be able to kick in there. From what you're,
a little bit, just a lot.
Just
a lot. Yeah, just a lot. Oh, that's awesome. That's wonderful to hear. That's great.
Well, excellent. Yeah, we've got Leo Perea has been working diligently on putting together some great partnerships, and that's one he told me about here about a week ago that we're in the process of finalizing.
Oh, that's incredible. That's awesome.
Well, Cynthia, you're also I believe you're also a success certified coach, if I'm not mistaken.
I am becoming one. November is my class. October was sold out. November is my class, and I am so excited about that.
Okay. Well, I will potentially be in that class with you because I actually want to be certified myself.
Okay. So. That's excellent. That's excellent. That's excellent. I'm so excited about that. I've been coaching agents for years, as a mentor or the broker or whatever. So I'm just looking forward to this extra extension of what it is. And I don't even think I even know the potential of what it really could be. So
yeah, no, I think it's a really great platform for, Success Magazine's, of course, been around for 125 plus years. And now that we've got the Success certified coach designation, of course, Jarek Robbins heads that up. We're super excited about it. And I'm actually spending a bit more time working with the Success team on growing out the ecosystem. So it's pretty exciting. Cynthia, first of all, I want to just say thank you for jumping on today. One of my phrases is that success leaves clues. And I think you dropped a couple of really cool clues here today on how to build your business. And then where can people check you out or follow you?
They can follow us on the McKenna team. If you really want some good ideas, my daughter's the best. She's Shaughnessy Sells. So she's really good on Instagram and Facebook. So we have, I'll post it back up. Last year we made a video for Hocus Pocus with the Sanderson sisters, but we were realtors, and I'm going to post that back up because Hocus Pocus is back out. So that should generate some interest.
Yeah, it's getting extra buzz this year. That
extra
whole show.
Buzz. Yeah. So the McKennateam.com. That's where we are.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, everyone, for listening, and join us again next time with our next podcast. But thanks for being on the journey.